Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and today we're going to be working on a True Temper 922C. And for those of you that think you're looking at an Ocean City reel, well, you are. Well, True Temper purchased Ocean City in 1957. They continued several of the models, including that 922, and then they eventually branded it as True Temper rather than Ocean City by True Temper. Well, this one, it's in for some service and repair. It's working okay. It's noisy. It's very dirty. It hasn't been serviced in a while. The line guide is out of the track, and well, this free spool release doesn't work. And if you look further, probably doesn't work because it's missing a bridge screw here, which is the guide for the that free spool release. Well, we're going to take this reel apart. We'll do some diagnosis, try and find some replacement parts, and see if we can't get this reel fishing again. So while I do this, I want to take a moment to ask you to subscribe to my channel if you like these types of videos. And if you do subscribe to the channel, please use that notification button. That notification button will let you know when I am posting a video so that you can make a determination as to whether it's a video that you want to watch. I do post all kinds of videos on all kinds of reels, new reels, old reels, spinning, trolling, conventional, and so on. So if this one is one of the ones you like, it's great, and I encourage you to view it. And if not, well, just use those notifications to find out when the next one is being posted so that well, you're aware of it and you can make your decisions accordingly. Well, we start by removing the handle, and I was just looking for a parts tray. I have a fast food container bottom I'll use as the parts tray. I removed it with a nut. You can remove that with a screwdriver. This is before the reels started going abroad and being made with metrics, so that handle nut is actually a US-based thread, and you can use those 9/16, and sometimes those metric tools will line up. I'm going to use a little bit of steel wool and some chrome polish now to get some of the tarnish off the handle. And we're going to try to clean this one up as best we can. So there's little question in my mind that with the right part, we will be able to restore the function of this reel. And a lot of the Ocean City reels share an awful lot of the parts, just like the Penn reels. And if they shared the parts, even though I may not have a 922, chances are I have that part somewhere. Well, you can see the chrome plating and the like that was indicative of this era as a very strong, thick plating, and cleans up nicely. Well, we'll do the same thing here with the star adjuster. And again, I just have a little bit of chrome polish on there. That's an automotive chrome polish. I find it works very well on the reels like this. And the 4.0 steel wool is kind of ultra fine. It's really for buffing. It's not an abrasive. Yeah, it'll clean up copper pipes and the like. That's the bottom we can see because that's where this little washer has been. Just make notes of it. Take pictures along the way as you're taking the reel apart. That way you'll be able to see where the parts came from. You'll have a guide in terms of where to put them back together again. There's 4 screws that hold the exterior side plate on here. Two of the screws go into the side posts and cross posts, and 2 of them go into the reel seat. I don't believe at this point we need to remove the bigger screw here, which is holding your access to the worm gear. But if we do, we'll go ahead and do that. And then when you take these out, note which pieces are coming from where and the length. So we have 2 long screws here. They belong in the reel seat. And 2 short screws. They belong in the cross posts. I'm going to put those in a corner of my parts tray. And let's see if we can't get this off now. We should be able to just walk this off. And this is the cause here. Very dirty reel, you can see, but the cause is without that screw being in that post, this jack can't go down to push that in. So we'll take this one step further. We're going to find out what that screw is. I believe I have one, and if I do, we'll be able to complete this. So let's keep going on this then. There's a E-clip here that is holding the yoke in place. I'm just going to remove that by twisting it with a screwdriver. You can see how that sets up. Kind of wondering where this reel has been. There's no question as to why the reel is making all that noise. It just it's been dirty, and it hasn't been serviced in a while, and without the oil and with the dirt, you're going to get a noise like that. Well, we can pull up and out on this now to remove the jack. Take pictures here. You want to note the orientation of the pieces, and you want to make sure that you have a reference point for when you go to reinstall. You put that piece in there. Now we have our yoke, we have a collar, and we have a pinion gear. They can come out as one. This piece shouldn't have come out like that, but again, we don't have that screw. This is your yoke. There's a collar for your pinion gear. And we'll clean all those parts in a moment. But first and foremost, I want to take that other side off, find what that screw is. We'll shut the camera off for a moment. I'll go to search for that screw, and then hopefully I'll come back with the repair piece. So I'm holding the little screw nut on the other side in with my finger. This is the collar we were talking about. It should come over the top. It's got all kinds of dirt in it, obviously. I'll take that spring, that'll go over next to the other one. And now I know the screw that I'm looking for. So I'm going to shut the camera off for a moment, and then I'm going to come back and see if I don't have that screw. Well, sometimes folks ask me why I keep all these pieces and parts from broken reels, and this is a prime example. I was able to locate that screw by just kind of going into the parts tray. And we'll just make sure, we'll give it a test here. Just trying to refocus a little bit. It does. It's the right screw, so we can take our miscellaneous parts and put them back and continue on with the service. So I'm going to take that other screw so I don't bounce that one around, and we'll put that back in here as well. And normally I probably would just put these right back into the side case, but the side case has got so much dirt on it and old grease that it just doesn't make sense to do it that way right now. All right, there's two little screws here. They're kind of a shield case. May have to stop again to get a hold fast, but let's see if we can get these out without, I didn't think so. Okay, well, these two little nut caps are spinning, which means they're sort of frozen, and that's easily understandable when you look at the rest of this reel. I'm going to just spray that with some penetrating oil. I've went and found a socket that will size up to that, and now I should be able to hold the one tight while I turn the other. This is sort of like physical gymnastics here, but it does work, and you'll see the piece shortly. This is the cap that's spinning inside. Try to do that one more time. I usually wind up knocking this reel around a couple of times trying to do this. And of course, that's always when I'm trying to do a video as well. But a little patience, somewhat of a sense of humor, and you will get this done. To me, Ocean Cities are fascinating reels. For some reason, they've gotten a bad rap. I don't know why that is. Everybody says they would take a Penn over an Ocean City. Well, Ocean City predated Penn and was actually the reel to have early on. And Ocean City was started in 1922, and they lasted until 1957 when they were purchased by True Temper. Okay, that's the two pieces that belong holding the bridge on. Let's continue with the disassembly of the bridge. In this case, this reel has an anti-reverse dog right here that's got the spring attached to this. We're going to do some cleaning on this base of the reel right now. So we've sprayed this down. You can see there's an awful lot of dirt and debris. Makes you wonder where the reel was stored, how it was stored, and what got in there, because that's probably the recipe for failure right there. And when you're servicing a reel, you're really looking to do a couple of different things. One of them is parts inspection. So with our parts inspection, we noticed that the issue with this reel was that you're missing that bridge screw. Well, we were fortunate enough to find one on a reel that probably hasn't had parts availability in 50 years. But it's just because there's some people out there that hold on to things or part reel out. And I learned early on that it was hard for me to find the parts, but they're still great reels and they're still well worth giving a second chance to. And so I hold those pieces and parts, as you saw in the little container. There's some reels it doesn't make any sense to hold parts for. Those are pretty much the disposable reels. And the reason it doesn't make sense is they're contract manufactured. So when they do a contract manufacture of it, they're basically building a reel and then getting rid of the parts. When you see a reel, it's probably a $20 reel, or call them Walmart reels or whatever. You see reels that are sold for a low price in a combination. Well, if you read the warranties on those, they almost always say repair or replace during the warranty period. Hard to find parts after the warranty period, and if you do send it back and they do decide to repair it, it's usually because they've got another broken reel there from that job lot that they're going to use. Okay, this one might be the interesting one. This may have all the metal washers in it. It does. So this one was very much like an early Mitchell reel. There are no fabric washers in this reel. The reels are this set of washers is all metal washers. So don't panic when you take your drag system apart and you find out there's metal washers and you were thinking you were going to find fabric washers. They're not. So if you look at a Mitchell 302, for example, you'll find that the 302 does not have fabric washers. It has all metals. All right, I was trying to get that pin out. That pin is lodged in there. No surprise. So what I'm going to do, I'll do my best to clean this off using a pick. And we'll just use some penetrating oil on that spray. Well, that took some time, but we've got a nice clean bridge now. And what we can do is we can start to rebuild the reel. There is a metal washer on the bottom side of the main gear. And as we mentioned, all of the washers inside this gear are metal. We're going to inspect the channels of the main gear. I want to make sure that all the teeth are uniform and clean and that there's no old debris, and this is a good time to notice that because as we saw, this reel is just caked in dirt and dust and the like, so make sure that you don't leave that in there. If you do, it's going to start becoming abrasive. It's like a sand, and well, it's not going to end well. It's going to wear the gears down. All right, nice coat of grease. I'm going to put the main gear with the washer on now. And then we have what would be a traditional setup for fabrics, but it's, again, they're all metals. Make sure they're clean. First one in is a round washer with a rectangular type of inset. Work that down. Next one up is one of the two eared washers. Now there's slots in the main gear that accept the two studs on each end. And we want to go back to a second of the round keyed washers. Make sure that seats nicely. Then the second of the eared washers goes in. And then the last one is the top washer. And again, seat that one in. That's the completion of your bridge with the exception of the gear sleeve. So we're going to make sure that this is cleaned on the inside, cleaned on the outside. And that's a spacer so that when you do your star adjuster, it bears down on that, pushing the compression on the drag stack to hold firm. Alright, I just put a little bit of oil onto the gear shaft. There is a felt piece inside there that becomes the shaft for that. These are the four that are going to attach the main bridge. We can do that next. There is a little channel in the back here on that adjuster. So let's go put a little bit of grease in there. That's going to be one side of where the spool will rest. And also put a little bit of grease up on the eccentric at this point. Since the spring for the anti-reverse is on the assembly, we can simply insert the whole assembly in and nest it so that it clears. Well, that spacer just came out, don't panic. Let's go ahead and put these two sleeves that are going to accept the screw from the other side in. Let's see if we can't get these in. Probably not. We'll probably have to go back and do what we did on the other side. I'm trying to hold that in by finger pressure right now. And at some point, it'll start spinning. This one's a little bit better. This one might tighten down. Well, yep, that one tightened down. So we'll do the same thing here with that little little ratchet. And it's almost tight. Again, patience is everything. Just relax, you will get it done. There we go. Tight with that. Now we want to go back and take those two screws that are going to hold the yoke in place. These are going to seat into the two top holes. Again, we had the one that was missing. And these have a little rectangular tooth underneath. You'll see it right here. There's a slot on the bottom by that screw. And that's going to seat into the side plate to properly align the cavity there for the worm gear. Not worm gear, I'm sorry, the yoke. And do the same thing with the one that we replaced. And those two slots face inward. Now I suppose if you want, you could get fabric washers to replace. Give it a turn, make sure everything's turning nicely, which it is. Now next up is the two springs. We're going to go put those over the posts right now. And then we'll service the yoke, the pinion gear, the collar, and the jack. Here's your yoke. Some of these tools off my bench. I'm going to grab the steel wool to get the old greases off. These are nice components. This reel was not a cheap made or cheap to afford reel. Interestingly enough, that was probably the downside when you look at Penn versus Ocean City. Ocean City was actually introduced as a reel for the elite fishermen, and it was very pricey in the beginning, and it was focused on providing the saltwater enthusiasts with the equipment they needed to fight the bigger fish. Well, one of the Ocean City employees thought that he could do a better job and get the reels for the people, and that became the founder of Penn. All right, these parts are cleaned now. We want to put a little bit of grease onto the shoulder of the yoke. We can put the collar in now. There's a slot that collar is going to ride in. And the front of the collar is the one that has the slots on it. On this, we want to get grease on the entire pinion gear, which is why I didn't put that in first, because with this, it's going to slide in and out. And we should get the free spool that was lacking when we did this before. The small side of the pinion gear goes into the collar, and it inserts from the back like that. The two springs are proud of those slots. You need to push down and not trap those springs on the way in. So get it clear so that you have a slot to accept the yoke on both sides. If you've trapped the spring bar, just take it back, put it back in. Next in then is the yoke. There's 2 points on the yoke. There's the jack. They face in. Get those into the slots, and then over the top of the stud. And then, as you remember, that little E-clip goes in now. And sometimes you can put this in by finger pressure, which is what I just did. Sometimes you can't. And before we go any further, after attaching the E-clip, let's make sure it works. It does. It's pulling that in now and pushing that out. The spring is pushing it back out. The clip is bringing it back in. So we have a functioning reel here. And we can just put our star adjuster back on and turn our attention to the rest of this reel. Well, one of the things I want to do here is continue with the cleaning, and I noticed that spool is very dirty. Remove the line, clean the spool, and then we'll come back with this assembly. Okay, a lot got done while I was away. I started by cleaning the spool, and again, this has got very high quality materials on it, and the spool is just an indication of how nice it is. And we're just trying to get this last piece of line off here. Okay, we're done with that, and you can see it cleaned up beautifully. It's still got a nice shine to it. I don't think Raul's going to recognize this reel when he's got done. Well, there's a drive on here that's going to drive a idler gear, which is going to drive the worm gear from the non-gear side. A little bit of grease on that and on both shafts. So let's explain what else we want. We cleaned the spool, we cleaned the housing completely, got all the dirt and grease and debris out of there. We do have a metal worm gear drive on a plastic drive. Generally speaking, I do not oil or grease the idler gears, but in this case, this one's so dry, we'll put a drop in there. And remember, we had the issue here with the line guide not being in the track. This is easy enough to resolve. You're going to bring the line guide through the hole in the case, set it into the track, and then bring it back, turning this to make sure that you have it properly seated and that it's driving. If that line guide is not moving back and forth, you don't have that in the track. Okay, let's go ahead and complete the reassembly then. We have our spool assembly that will go in next. Just testing again. I want to see that that worm gear is turning. It is. And then we can bring this whole assembly in. I like to assemble this part with the yoke in. That's free spool mode. And you got to align a couple of things. You have to align your case studs and the piece the shield for the worm gear just came out. Okay, I think we're good. Doesn't seem like the worm gear is centered yet, so let's go ahead and take this screw out. Sometimes you can do it, sometimes you can't. There you go. As soon as I turned it, you saw how it popped back in, and we're in good condition now. The two long screws go below, one on each side, so let's put those in. Next, get the two screws for your reel seat. Go ahead and make sure that you're aligned with the hole, and then start those screws so that you can hold the side plate on there. Again, check the other side, make sure that's aligned as well. You never know when you see a reel that came in the condition that this one did, if there was any torsion or other issues associated with it, but we're going to find out in a couple of minutes here as we do a final test just how we did. So let's recap what it was that we did. We noticed as we were taking the reel apart that we were missing a screw that belonged with the post that channels the free spool release jack in and out. So we didn't have a free spool on this. We noticed when we took the side plate off that it was very dirty and probably has been in storage for years. We noticed when we turned the crank that the reel was, well, complaining. How's that? And all of that stuff has been rectified by cleaning and grease, a replacement part, and well, we're ready to go again. So just tighten down the handle screw here. We'll give it a test. We'll see how we did. Again, we've got all metal drag washers. It's unusual but not uncommon. Never have to replace them, that's for sure. All right, let's see. We're in free spool, so we should have a free spool turning reel. This one's a little tight, so we'll back off the adjuster. Get it to spin nicely. And then let's go into gear, turn it, and look at that. What a difference. A little bit of oil, cleaning, relubrication, and knowledge, I guess, replacement parts and the like can do. Well, that's it. That's your True Temper 922C, and this one's ready to go fishing again. I hope you've enjoyed that. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, wishing you all a great day on the water, and saying thanks to our first responders and essential personnel, and asking all of you to please keep your reels in good condition, because you never know when the bite's going to happen, and you don't want to be left on the beach when everybody else is fishing because your equipment has failed. So take the time to do the maintenance. You'll be happy with the rewards that it will provide. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.